It's midnight and these are the news.
The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2728, 2024.
Finally, and after almost 6 months, the UNSC demands an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. On Monday, the Resolution 2728 have passed with 14 votes in favor. Russian and Chinese UN representatives appreciated the effort of Algeria and the other E10 members, and the Palestinian representatives thanked Algeria for representing Palestine within the UN Security Council. Algeria matches its words with action and extends a hand to the Palestinian people with food and medical aid, as aid continues to be sent to Al Arish airport to enter Gaza through Rafah border crossing. Finally, and after almost 6 months, the UNSC demands an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. On Monday, the Resolution 2728 have passed with 14 votes in favor, and this time just an abstention from the US.
Voting is as follows: 14 votes in favor, 0 vote against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2728, 2024.
It is the first resolution ever demanding a ceasefire in the Council that has been adopted. It is actually a resolution submitted by Algeria and the E10 member countries. The text demands an immediate ceasefire for the month of Ramadan, leading to a lasting and sustainable ceasefire. It also emphasizes on the urgent need to expand the flow of humanitarian assistance and the release of all hostages. For his part, our permanent representative to the UN, the Ambassador Ammar bin Jama, affirmed that this is just the beginning and that Algeria will make sure that Palestine will be a full-fledged member within the United States nations.
على المرونة والعمل البناء.
I would like to thank all the Council members for their flexibility and the constructive way that allowed us today to adopt this long-awaited resolution, a resolution that calls for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip in order to put an end to the massacres that unfortunately are still ongoing. Over the past 5 months, the Palestinian people has suffered greatly. Adopting this resolution is only the beginning to meet the aspirations of the Palestinian people. We want the occupier to immediately apply this resolution to put an end to the bloodbath without any conditions, to end the sufferings of the Palestinian people. It is the responsibility of the Security Council to ensure the implementation of the provisions of this resolution. In conclusion, I reaffirm that Algeria will return once again before the Security Council according to the instructions of the President of the Algerian Republic, to make sure that Palestine returns to its natural status of full and sovereign member of the United Nations.
في مكانها الطبيعي عضوا كاملا.
The Palestinian representative appreciated the effort of the E10 members and thanked Algeria for representing Palestine within the UNSC, stressing that this is a turning point indeed, and that Palestinians will survive this genocide and this injustice must be stopped.
We express our appreciation to the E10, all of you, for having put forward this resolution, and we welcome its adoption by the Council. We thank Algeria for representing us and all the Arab countries in this endeavor. We salute Arab unity in demanding immediate ceasefire and prevailed. This must be a turning point. This must lead to saving lives on the ground. This must signal the end of this assault of atrocities against our people. A nation is being murdered. A nation is being dispossessed. A nation is being displaced for decades now, but never at this scale since the Nakba. Never this openly from Tantura to Gaza, from 1948 to 2024, we have endured. We have survived. We have resurrected only to face death once again. Life must prevail in Gaza. Must prevail in Gaza. Freedom must prevail in Palestine. For 6 months now, every single Palestinian in Gaza has endured untold suffering, loss, pain, and tragedy. This must stop now. Save the lives of those who survived against all odds. Tell them help is on the way. Hold accountable those who inflicted such suffering upon them. End this injustice. End it now. All of this is long overdue.
For his part, Russia's representative expressed his disappointment for not using the word permanent instead of a lasting ceasefire and recalled Algeria's key role in protecting and defending Palestinian rights.
The word permanent would be more precise, and we are disappointed that it did not make it through. But nevertheless, we believe it is fundamentally important to vote in favor of peace. Nevertheless, the Council must continue to work on achieving a permanent ceasefire. On the 22nd of March, there was another very tragic day in the history of the Security Council when, through intrigues and blackmail, they tried to put us on the wrong path and to coerce us to adopt a document that not only didn't contain a demand or at least a call for a ceasefire, but essentially was presented, as the permanent representative of Algeria said on that day, as a license for the further killing of Palestinians. Neither we nor our Algerian and Chinese colleagues could allow that.
China's representative also thanked Algeria and the other council members for their efforts of implementing a ceasefire in Gaza. He also highlighted the differences between the draft resolution that he vetoed and the current one, while stressing that the UN's resolutions are binding.
China voted in favor of the draft resolution that has just been put to the vote. We thank Algeria, Mozambique, and other elected council members for their efforts. Last Friday, the Security Council voted on the other draft resolution proposed by the United States on the situation in Gaza. China, together with Algeria and Russia, voted against it. A comparison of the two drafts shows the differences. The current draft is unequivocal and correct in its direction, demanding an immediate ceasefire, while the previous one has been evasive and ambiguous. The current draft demands an unconditional ceasefire, while the previous one has set preconditions for ceasefire. Security Council resolutions are binding. We call on the parties concerned to fulfill their obligations under the United Nations Charter and to take due action as required by the resolution.
And to discuss in details about this major event of the day, we have our analyst in geopolitics, Professor Hamoud Salhi from California. Professor Hamoudi, good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for the invitation and happy Ramadan.
Sir, a ceasefire resolution is finally approved in the UNSC. This time we witnessed an abstention instead of another veto from the US. What has changed exactly? What's the difference now? This resolution doesn't condemn Hamas at all.
What's changed is, number one, what's happening on the ground, that the Palestinian resistance is still powerful as it started. There are conclusions by American think tanks, by Israelis and Europeans, others who come to admit in the fact that the Palestinian resistance is still strong and will not be defeated. This is one element. The second element is what's happening in the United States in terms of pressure put on by solidarity friends of Israel, of Palestine, including the Arab and Muslim communities in key states or swing states, as we call them, which is putting the Congress. And in particular, the Democrat and the White House, President Biden's re-election in November at grave risk. This pressure is also added to what is happening on Israel. And most important than this is the fact that the United States image worldwide has been solid, and the United States could not afford another usage of veto against the United Nations Security Council.
Yeah, Professor Hamoudi, we're talking about a resolution almost unanimously adopted, but what about its nature? Binding, non-binding? These are some strong terms which can predict the future of the Zionist forces' actions. Is it under international law now?
So we have to take into consideration the narrative that the Western media, the Americans, and John Kirby of the United States, who has undermined, and for the first time we're hearing that United Nations Security Council are not binding. The United Nations Security Council are binding and only enrage certain specific cases where they are not. So from that perspective, it is very important to look at it from the perspective that this is a major win for the Palestinians, a major win for the Algerian diplomacy and the supporters of Palestine. So from that perspective, this is in line with international law. It has a huge impact on undermining and siding with the Palestinians against the Israelis.
Yeah, sir, the Palestinian representative to the UN Security Council, and amid a press conference, stated that another resolution is to be prepared for. Will we finally see any sanctions imposed against this entity?
I think that we're far from taking sanction or that steps against Israel. For one obvious reason is that I don't think the United States goes that far. What the United States did today is indirectly sending a warning to Israel that Israel must now look to its own interest, that is the United States interest, strategic interest, but going as far as putting sanctions on Israel would be sort of a major development because the United States would not allow it. In terms of the next step, I think the Algerian Algerian representative made it clear that the next step is to call for a Palestinian state. I believe there will be some kind of other resolutions in the making, but what the Algerian diplomat is looking forward, he is interpreting this resolution and leading, as its term stating, to an end to this war and a possible return to the borders pre-October 7, meaning that there will be a deal by the end of the day. And at that point, the discussion will be, or the Algerian will present a resolution that will give Palestine a full statehood. That's the logical one, but we are still long ways from the United States changing its position to imposing sanctions. It could be a resolution could be drafted if things continue like this, but it would not hold. United States will not accept holding Israel accountable.
I thank you for this information. That was our analyst in geopolitics, Professor Hamoud Salhi. Thank you so much for your time. In other news, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, received a phone call on Monday from the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. The two ministers exchanged views on the latest developments in Gaza, focusing on the negotiations within the Security Council concerning the draft resolution presented by the 10 elected members of the UN body with the aim of promoting an immediate, lasting and conditional ceasefire. It should be reminded that Algeria took the first initiative of putting forward this draft resolution within the 10 members. Algeria, which defends the Palestinian cause in all international forums, matches its words with action and extends a hand to the Palestinian people with food and medical aid, as aid continues to be sent to Al Arish Airport to enter Gaza Strip through the Rafah crossing. Coverage by Malek Darahmoun, commentary by Najh Diyar.
From Bufarik Airport, the Algerian aid planes took off and arrived to Al Arish Airport in Egypt in hopes of reaching to our brothers Gaza people in distress. Proudly, I thank the Algerian government and people with the name of the Palestinians for its persistent support with us and our cause. We thank the Algerian people and government under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and the Algerian embassy in Cairo. We thank all the Algerian people who stand beside the Palestinian people in his ordeal. We pray we'll stand beside you in a joyful circumstances. This air bridge comes as an embodiment to the President of the Republic and the Algerian authorities' commitment of standing alongside the Palestinian people. 50 tons of aid containing different foodstuff have been delivered to Al Arish Airport on 2 planes belonging to the People's National Army and received by the Egyptian Red Crescent to be transported to Rafah crossing. We have delivered the first batch, weighing around 50 tons of foodstuff, and in coordination with the Egyptian Red Crescent, it will be transported through the Rafah crossing. This is another air bridge which only confirms the Algerian state and people's unconditional support to the brotherly Palestinian people.
And our Gaza-based correspondent, Hussam Abu Zaid, shared with us how unbearable is the situation there, especially after the latest massacres earlier this morning. Rania Al-Bahri.
These are the first moments of one of the Zionist raids on the city of Rafah, south of the Gaza Strip, a few hours before eating the suhoor meal during the month of Ramadan. Important number of Palestinian martyrs and wounded were recorded. Some of them were transferred and others are still under the rubble. Traces of blood and human parts are everywhere.
We have found body parts of a child under the rubble of this house.
There is information that says there are injured in the neighboring houses, which shelter children, women, and the elderly. Palestinians are still trying to search for more victims and for those who remain alive.
We pulled them out of the rubble. Most of them are unconscious, and they are children and women.
This is the case of civil defense units that keep pace with the bombings and try to recover the remains of the Palestinian victims with less than possible capabilities so that they may find someone alive or injured.
We haven't taken rest for a minute since the morning, and we are heading to the bombing areas. The numbers of injured and martyrs are very large. Most of the injured are suffering from internal and external bleeding.
The civil defense units try to pull out victims and the injured blocked under the rubble, and in an attempt to save what can be saved in light of the continuation of the Zionist aggression on the Gaza Strip, for 6th month in a row.
Tasked by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Salah Goujiel, signed on the register of condolences in the Russian embassy in Algiers following the terrorist attack that occurred in Moscow and which caused the death of several innocent people. Back to the atmosphere of Ramadan, the month of solidarity and sharing, and this is how students from different nationalities gathered for an iftar organized by the University of Jilfa. More details with Yasir Hamdi.
Gathered in an atmosphere of sharing and charity, these students of various nationalities met around traditional dishes to enjoy a collective iftar organized in their honor by the University of Jilfa.
In Algeria, we feel like home. The people take care of us. Several activities are organized for us, and various means of entertainment are made available to us daily. Algeria is our second country. Here we can meet people from all the nationalities.
Algeria is a beautiful country. We were well welcomed. People are kind and Ramadan is going well.
This iftar that took place with the presence of the civil society was also the occasion to reinforce the friendly and brotherly relations between the foreign students and Algeria.
The Algerian universities welcome several young African students. This collective iftar gathered the students and members of civil society, an occasion to strengthen the fraternal bonds that unite us.
This kind of initiative reflects the sharing and solidarity spirit, values that characterize the Algerians, especially during the month of Ramadan.
That was it for today's news. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.